hills and build them high. Makes a long time climbing before I die. I want the chance to spit in his eye. Well, they gave me bars, but I can see between to a dusty yard and a long gone green. They call that freedom, if you know what I mean. And I dry my sorrows, but the whiskey's gone. I'm sober as a judge.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Shortbangers. I'm Matty. It's Saturday night. Scotland just beat Moldova 1-0. I'm joined by John and Colin. We're doing this on Saturday rather than Thursday because life got in the way this week. So, John, how are you doing?
Aye, not bad. How'd their life?
Okay.
What was it? What were we busy with on Thursday? Colin, I know you had you were moving your daughter out or something, and I think I had homework or something. So here we are.
That's right, homework. Aye.
Homework.
I just wanted to double time. For the Saturday, so made myself unavailable on the Thursday.
That's a good shout. I think we're in the process of moving kids out the house, Colin. That's
Aye.
That's the way it goes.
Is that Josh on the way out as well?
Aye, I'm on. He goes.
Cheerio, cheerio, cheerio.
Okay. Tears and sadness. We weren't as bad. This is your second year yet, so it wasn't as bad yesterday. Last year was caught us out a wee bit. Didn't expect it as much as we happened. Aye.
Well, he's not going so far. He's only going to be Christoph in this. It's not like he's the end of the world there. So that'll be interesting. We'll move back up the stairs as well. So I think from Monday night's podcast will probably be a bit quieter as well, different surroundings. I don't know whether to kind of change the background to reflect the change of room, or whether I'll maybe just stay in the kitchen and do it. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Some questions, right? We'll get straight into it, and we're just going to do one episode because we missed Thursday, and rather than splitting it out over a couple of days, we'll just bash it all out in one bumper Shortbangers. So the first question comes from Paul Mackay. Paul asked us last week about if we'd met any famous folk and if you had a pint with them, and he'd spoken to Colin Nish, and he clarified that Colin Nish bought the pint. Anyway, he says, do you still play any of your old games consoles? I still play the Wii now and again, he says. So, Colin, you were never into games consoles that much, were you?
Nah. Even when I've tried them, it's like I got an old Xbox off a mate and couldn't get into it. I had a Wii for a while with the bairns when they were younger. Then now they've got the Switch. It's like novelty stuff. A day, 2 days, and I'm bored of it. So nah.
What about you, John?
Nah, never go back. I've tried it a couple of times, because I think everyone growing up, whether it's my first games console, if you like, it wasn't even a console, it was a Commodore 64, so you uploaded your information via a tape.
Cassette.
A cassette tape. For the younger ones listening, a cassette tape, go and Google it, because I can't even describe it. But
I had an Atari thing. Aye.
You had to, with the cassette tape, Matt, I'm sure you'll remember this, but like if it was an especially big game, you had to load up one side of the tape, take it out, turn it over, put it back in.
Unbelievable, eh? Think it now, eh?
There was a football manager, Hugh Kevin's football manager, which was like the big football manager game at the time, and that was like at least half an hour to load it. And Kevin was mental was something like if the volume wasn't quite right on the tape deck, the game didn't load properly. There was like something, but when you were wee, you just went, oh well. I just tried again. It didn't piss you off. Like now, if a game takes like 30 seconds to load, you're like, hurry the fuck up. but that you would just sit and go, all right, I'll just try it again.
On the Commodore as well.
Change of circumstances now, like everybody. So it's instant gratification, isn't it?
But that's one of the problems with like consoles now is, when you got a bit more advanced in the Commodore, you moved on to like the Master System and the Mega Drive.
Mega Drive, yeah.
That was like your cartridge was your game. That was it. There wasn't any fucking about. Like you could go on, you could have a quick game or something, and you could go out and play with your pals or whatever. You try and log on to the PlayStation or the Xbox now. You try and have a quick game or something. Sorry, an update is required. It's a bit shit. But I funny what you're saying about like the volume being off with the Commodore. When I remember the keyboard on the Commodore, you could plug cartridges into the back of it as well. And there was a weird quirk with it where not like the whole thing wouldn't load. So you'd maybe, if you were playing Robocop, for example, you'd get his legs or you get the upper half of his body, but never both at the same time. If you were playing Daisy Thunder, you could see just the shell of the car and nothing else. So that made for some interesting games. Like you say, it was when you were a bairn, you didn't bother about that sort of stuff now. But because everything's because everything's so much more advanced now, like the slightest inconvenience, that's it. That's a fucking shambles.
The disgrace controller gets launched.
Aye.
I tweeted, wee Mugs had been tweeting about playing retro games through the week, and I'd replied to him, didn't do it. Like I've tried, even like Sonic the Hedgehog. So like Sonic the Hedgehog was brilliant. Come in your Wii, you get the Master System. Sonic the Hedgehog straight into it. Try playing Sonic the Hedgehog now. I could play it for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and I'm like, shite. Give me something else.
I don't know what Sonic's like, but I think I downloaded.
His wee blue hedgehog.
No, fuck off. I mean the gameplay. What was I trying to say? Destruction Derby on the PlayStation. So you know how on Xbox you can do something similar. You can get Xbox 360 games. PlayStation 4, I think you could get PlayStation 2 games, but maybe even PlayStation 1. I can't remember which one Destruction Derby came out on, but that was a brilliant game. Like you just drive about, you'd pile into folk. Brilliant. Playing it now, it's like playing your life in slow motion, and I can't understand how that is. How is it so slow?
It's everything's moved on, eh?
At the time, it was like, this is the best thing ever.
Aye, I remember that game. That was a good crack. I played, so I've got the Xbox Series X, and that runs games for pretty much any generation of Xbox. And there was a Star Wars one called Knights of the Old Republic that I absolutely loved first time round. And I bought that and played it the other day. Still quality. That's the exception to the rule for me. Other than that, didn't bother with the old games. The one I'm playing now is Flight Simulator, right, which is fucking ridiculously good. It's, how would you describe it? Right, so Flight Simulator sounds geeky as fuck because you're basically just flying planes, but it takes, you imagine Google Earth. Obviously, there's no Google because it's Microsoft, right? So it'll be Bing Earth, the equivalent one, and it streams all the data like real time as you're flying. So you basically, like, you fly over Edinburgh, and it's like flying over Edinburgh, and you can fly underneath the bridges and everything.
You're saying if there's an accident on the bypass, like you're looking at it going, fuck you.
No, so it's not quite as real time as that, but weather conditions and the time of day and everything, it's fucking superb. Like the detail in it.
You flew over Easter Road, yeah?
Oh, aye. Easter Road's all right. It's a wee bit flat looking. Tiny looks shite. Like they've no done the proper modelling for Tiny and Hampden for Murrayfield.
Neither did Dan Budge.
That's it. They've probably gone, well, she's no bothered. We're no. But Easter Road looks all right when you go over. You actually get a good sense of the stadium. But it's pretty. You can fly over. I flew over my house and everything. Kind of went as you would. I didn't live in Edinburgh, but I just took the plane over the Forth.
Have you ploughed your plane into a building yet?
Oh, aye.
Tynecastle, eh?
No, nah, I didn't want to. I just didn't want to acknowledge it's there. Pretty much, I looked at it and went, "Fuck, that's it."
Did you get the fingers?
Of course, I gave it the fingers. Aye, of course. That's standard, but aye, it's so good. Like it's just incredible. You can literally fly anywhere in the world, and it's mapped out. It's just superb.
And what's the point of the game, though?
Just flying planes. So if you wanted to do it properly,
how do you win it?
You did it. So you can complete flights as if you were in control of the actual plane. So it teaches you how to fly a plane, for the basics to kind of the wee steering wheel thing.
It's dead fucking easy. Out of these pilots, what are you doing, mate? Just fucking, there's your joystick.
Just do it like that.
A, B, X, fucking Y, and you'll be all right.
I stall it all the time, and I just not very good at that. You can put like loads of assistance on it, so that basically it becomes almost like all you're doing is steering it. That's pretty much the level I'm at with it.
I've got a mate who was right into his Flight Simulator, and I think, am I right in saying that Flight Simulator was stopped maybe like 10 years ago and they just brought it back? So 10 years ago, so he was mad into it. He had his PC and he had like the proper joystick at home and everything, and he booked himself like flight slots. So he was leaving, I think it was LAX, and he was flying to Heathrow or something, and he'd stayed up all night. I remember him sending us a message saying, that's me settled in for like this 8-hour flight. I'm like, aye, good luck, mate. He's like, I've got a few bottles of Stella here. I was like, oh, how's this going to go? He lost contact with air traffic control over the Atlantic. And he ended up crash landing in Germany.
Nearly made it then. Not too
Because he
far
got
away.
he just got buried on his Stella. Just fucking went, fell asleep.
Well, it's that now. I don't think I think I could do like an 8-hour flight on it or anything. Like the wee short ones. Like I was going over Fort William last night on a wee light aircraft. That was quite smart. Or obviously that part of the country is amazing, eh? So flying over it looks pretty spectacular. Right. Anyway, that's about as geeky as it's going to get tonight, I think. Robert
But
Glenn.
can I just compliment John on having a tenants and a whiskey on the go at the same time? That's pretty
That's
good.
fucking Saturday
Pretty good
night.
stuff.
Saturday
You're
night
in
for
the
you.
water.
Fuck about.
I'm on the water.
No. I've
Well,
got one in
because we'd left it a couple of days, Matt had suggested getting a couple of beers, and I had one solitary can of Tennent's in the fridge, so I had that, and I had the last bottle of whiskey that I got for Father's Day, so I'm nailing that as well.
I think I've got some beer in the fridge. I just didn't think about it. And that was after suggesting it. Right, Robert Glenn said, will the vaccine passports come in different colours? So, by the way, and I didn't mean this to be offensive to anybody, didn't tweet anything about vaccine or fucking COVID. That's what I learned this week. Do not fucking tweet it. Regardless of what side of the fence you're on, this is not like a comment either way. There are some very passionate folk about it. And I'm not that passionate about it.
I was going to say, is it passionate you're calling them now?
Aye. So regardless of what it says, like I'm not sure if there's like a wee alarm goes off somewhere that says that fucking somebody's tweeting about COVID, and everybody goes boom, 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 pile on. Because I had a reply to Jordan Foster. He tweeted to say something about human rights getting taken away.
He's a known political commentator, isn't he, Jordan Foster? He's known for it.
Aye. But he says fucking human rights getting taken away. And I was like, which human rights are we losing?
Do you know what I didn't appreciate? There was so I went back and I read that thread and I saw someone saying that they need, like, I thought the whole concept of a COVID passport was brand new, something that was being introduced. Or sorry, a COVID passport would be brand new, it's been introduced because it doesn't already exist. But something similar, as I understand it, exists for your yellow fever vaccination. You need something to say you've had that vaccine to work in certain countries.
I think it's the same as if you're going to like South Africa on your holiday or something. So you need inoculations and everything. It's the same principle. Yeah. It's probably not for us to get bogged in and talk about it on the podcast because again we'll just invite all sorts from both sides. I'm no passing judgment on it.
Get the fucking vaccine. Stop pissing about. That's my official stance. It's not that Longbanger.
I kind of get to the point where like folk are entitled to their opinion. That's my stance. You're entitled to your opinion. You want to go and say what you want to say. Bash on. It's not for me to say different.
I think you should pass an exam to be able to have your own opinion.
My old man would say that you should do that for voting. You should have to pass a test before you're allowed to vote.
You should get an opinion passport before you're allowed to express one.
And what would that involve, John? What would that test be?
No being punched in the face for saying something ridiculously stupid. Like my human rights are being taken away because I can't get into a nightclub. Like honestly, I thought the responses to that, I've been refused entry at a nightclub because of the state of my shoes. Like
so
true.
Because you've got trainers on.
Aye, I've been refused entry where I've been because
I've been refused.
Do you know one of the reasons?
There's too many guys in already, mate.
Aye, too many guys.
I got refused entry to a nightclub once because I didn't have ID with me. And I was the oldest person there by about 5 years. That was the only reason I ended up driving because I thought, well, I better get myself a provisional, and fucking provisional was a waste of space in my wallet if I didn't actually go and take my test. So here I am, fucking 8 years later, driving.
Aye.
Can get into nightclubs.
I mean, getting turned away, was it Bar 38? Is Bar 38 still a thing? That's still on George Street.
Oh fuck! Is that the one that's way at the sort of West End?
West End.
Aye. So when it was quite new and everybody was like trendy as fuck to get in, you know, like everybody wanted to be in, and it was the sort of place that, if I'm honest, I fucking hate. Right. And I remember going in and I had like a wee spell with dressing quite indie. So I had these like brown, like sort of 70s. Like if you imagine a pair of trainers for the 70s, like diesel trainers, right? It wasn't like they were cheap ones. And this brown sort of, again, it's like 70s wallpaper t-shirt, right? I mean, fucking ridiculous. Like, look like somebody out of Pulp. And
did you go looking like Jarvis Cocker? Is that what you're telling us?
Almost, I looked all right. Anyway, the bouncer said, it's pretty much, can't come in looking like that. I remember saying, do you care how much it costs to look this bad?
Don't you know who I am? I'll have a podcast one day.
So I got turned away. I remember that, and I remember getting turned away for Evil one night. I used to eat Evil every week, if I get religiously. And we'd been at an awards night with HSBC, so me and my mate Craig. It was at the what's the golf course between Livingston and Edinburgh? Do you know if you go to Calder Roads? No. Dalmahoy, right? So we'd been at Dalmahoy for this night out, and then we jumped a taxi back into town to go to Evil, and there was a new bouncer, and he says it's regulars only the night. I said, fuck it, I'm your regular, and you mate, you're new.
I've seen you before, pal. What are you talking about?
Fucking raging. I think that's the first time I got properly annoyed at not being let in. Everyone's got this shite fucking excuse.
Just made shit up, eh? That's it though, it was just shit to make up.
Ken, what annoyed me about trying to get in that night was when I was trying to rationally explain to the boy that I was older than everyone there, and bouncers that become aggressive. I was like, mate, go and just fucking settle down. I'm trying
to rationally explain something.
I'm not being a dick.
After 10 pints.
Let me in.
Mm-hmm.
Aye. Bouncers were the nice folk, you know. I think they're better now. I think they're better nowadays, but we didn't have to deal with them anymore.
Came with the day now. They go and check Instagram and everything for folk to see their age.
Do they?
Because when they go out with fake ID and that now, they've got to like change their fucking Instagram profiles and that to the right name, to the person's name that they're borrowing an ID for and that.
Did I tell you I was in Morrison's recently, and I can't remember what I was getting, but there was a couple of young ladies at the checkout along for me, and I could sense there was a bit of commotion going on, but I couldn't work out what it was. There was like staff sort of like milling about, folk were looking a wee bit nervously, and one of the staff that worked for Morrison's came back and said, "Can I sell you this? Like, this isn't your idea, and we're going to have to confiscate it." And the women, the young woman saying, "You can't confiscate that ID." She went, "Actually, I can. I've got absolutely no idea about this." I just thought I've never seen this before, where someone has.
Can they confiscate it?
I don't know.
I really don't know. Like, they can refuse you, but surely they can, unless they're sure it's a fake. But I mean, how sure would they be? They get a bit of training in that, don't they?
I mean, what they said was, whoever this belongs to, send them in, and they can pick up their ID, but you're not using it to buy drink.
Fair dues. All right. Charlie B says, "Have you ever sharted in public?"
No.
It's a pity Brian's not here. This would take up the rest of the podcast. But
I think they just seen earmark that in the Brian section.
Aye. I have like, I mean, I don't know, sharted if that's what it's called, but if coming back, you're walking back and you're getting close. It's like when you're getting closer and closer to the house and you're thinking, bursting, bursting, and you're getting closer and it's edging closer and closer out. Well, I've been there a couple of times, aye.
Closest I came was in Amsterdam. After like a big awards thing with work, my last workplace, and we were being in the pub, and we had to get to the train station to get back out to Schiphol for the airport, and it was one of those ones, like you said, there, Connors, milliseconds between, defeat and glory. Actually, the day it was, I dropped Jane off at the train station, was coming back up. And I dipped into Aldi to get some chicken for the dog, and our front door's jammed now, so I have to come around the back. And Sophie was the only one that was in, and I locked the door and posted the keys back through the letterbox for her. And Sophie's not the best at paying attention at her phone. And I'm like, "Ken Turtles, one of those moments." And I've texted and said, "Go and make sure the back door's open." And I'm coming through the gate, just praying she's got that message. She did. Thankfully, it was like poof, straight there.
Yeah.
Aye.
Belt already undone before you open the door and everything. Aye.
I was contemplating whether I could just tan the back door and each one of the poo bags for the dog.
There's a point when you're bursting on a shite where you can, I wouldn't say fool your body, you sort of fight against your bodily impulses to evacuate it, and it's weird. Like I maybe mentioned this on a previous podcast where I was walking the West Highland Way. And it was the second stretch we were doing, so we sort of broke it into like a 14-mile stretch, then it was a 7-mile stretch. And I think it was like into that 7-mile stretch where I realised that I needed the toilet. I was like, oh, fuck, like, I think I'm going to make it. And 7 miles doesn't sound that long, but it was kind of like just winding like a snake. So just never ever made any progress. Took us fucking hours. and the entire time, like, I can feel this, like you say, the turtle heat, and I'm clenching my arsehole as hard as I possibly can, and you can imagine in your head that you're sort of like pulling it back up inside your body. Whether that actually happens or not, I don't know. But I think your body then starts fighting against that impulse, and you
So
can
2
feel
steps
like
forward, 1 step back. That's the.
you can feel your intestines like quivering, like, oh, you think you're smart, do you? Let's see how you can battle against this. And there's a point, genuinely, where there isn't any solids that come out. It's just like your arsehole's trying to lubricate itself just to try and override the override. It's coming whether you like it or not. That's maybe the first time that I shat in public.
I can't think if I've ever had a shite outside. Do you know, like, folk go camping and they must do things like that. And I've definitely, you know, you've been, especially when you're walking home past and things like that, and you've been caught short for a pee and had to duck behind a tree somewhere or something like that. But I don't think I've ever had to do it for a number 2.
I've only once that I remember, but I was out walking the dog, and I was like, and I was lucky because I was like, oh, I found the fucking. It was this wee, like, between 2 houses, and it was like no houses, but like, well, if you came where I mean, you would know. But anyway, it's between 2 houses, but it's like a big path. But it was like a closed path at the top, so you could go up, and it was like a narrow wee lane sort of thing. So I managed to just lean against the wall and just use that as the.
Tell me,
just keep the legs at the road.
did you sit and watch your dog the entire time you were having a shite, the way that your dog will watch you? Just maintain eye contact.
I was waiting on her picking it up.
Where's the bag?
I bet the dog was jumping about like mad, like, what's going on?
No, it was absolutely, it was the calmest she's been. I think so. Yeah,
Quality.
That was only last summer during lockdown.
Oh, a summer outdoor jobby. That would have been interesting.
It was a sort of evening, so it was quiet and that. But then I just had to walk back, and I thought, you get away my ears.
I always worry you get caught. Can it be one of those moments you'd see somebody you can, like maybe somebody from school, can you not see for years? He's, oh, hello.
All right, David.
It was totally. I'll show you sometime. But it was a day quiet bit, so it was all right. But fucking hell, that was horrible.
All right, Neil says, have you ever had a really awkward boner in a public place? If so, where?
Fuck.
You used to get that when you're on the bus.
Aye, the bus is it's like in your teens. Horrendous. You get them everywhere.
Aye. The vibrations, I think, of the bus and that, must be that.
Aye, it's weird.
But buses are sexy, though.
Aye.
I can't think of any times where it's been knows a grown up. Anyway, that it's that has happened anywhere that would have caused any issues. John,
I don't know if I want to say.
I don't
know.
I don't know if I want to say has ever been a consideration in this show.
Fuck. I don't know if I've ever actually told anyone about this, but I used to work as a porter at St John's Hospital 20 years ago, when at the start of trying to work out what it was that I wanted to do in my life. And I think I was wearing, I can't remember if it was, you know, you get different types of boxers. You know, you've got the ones that have got the buttons, you've got the one that's got like the wee gap for poking your wee felly through, your big felly through. I found that those two particular types of boxers had this uncanny ability to give me, like, I don't know, it must have just been the way that it rubbed against me, and it just set me off. And I've never worn a pair of those types of boxers to this day because of this one particular incident. I think on the radio, someone's asked me to go back to the control room or go from wherever it was to wherever I needed to be to pick something up or move a dead body or whatever it happened to be. And walking down the corridor, I'm sure it was pretty late at night, it started to rub, it started to set off. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, like, maybe I'll be all right because I'll be near a bit. The boy comes down the corridor, turns towards me and he goes, all right. And I looked down, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So
Well, was he making eye contact when they said all right?
Aye, it just wasn't the eye that I was hoping.
Aye. So at least it wasn't a dead body you were pushing though. Because that could have been pretty bad.
Aye. There's a disciplinary meeting. Would you get in trouble for that? So somebody
For being aroused by it, probably no.
you probably wouldn't get asked to do it again though, would you? You'd have that
No.
reputation.
Well, the thing is, like, you always worked in pairs when you were taking the bodies into the morgue. So, I don't know if that would make it like voyeurism. If you got, I don't know. We're going into weird territory.
It's a weird threesome, isn't it? Right, Harry MacArthur says, is it fair to say the captain of the Titanic is an idiot? Whole gigantic sea to traverse through and he manages to hit an iceberg. Personally reckon he's a major tube.
Yeah.
Aye.
Unlucky at best.
He's a bit unlucky. Aye.
Well, that's a bit of an understatement, isn't it? Do you think it was
Unlucky,
bad luck or incompetence?
Well, you have to bear in mind, what was it? Was it 1912 it sank?
Was it?
I can't remember.
So just the back of 7. Still be light.
Is it in the winter though? No, in the winter.
But they didn't have the navigational tools that we have today, so they couldn't have. It was fucking the 15th April 1912. So they were relying on binoculars. They were relying on the human eye. They were relying on people staring out at something. It was just like,
it was under the water as well, wasn't it? So
Aye.
you would maybe a wee bit poking out and think, this big boat will just fucking go over the top of it.
just smash it. Aye.
So nobody slag the boy off.
His reputation's probably suffered enough, hasn't it?
Aye, he's had, what is that, nearly, 110 years nearly?
110 years, eh?
Well, we've got a follow-up question. Andrew McBee says, I can't believe they're 50 episodes in and they've not talked about whether Jack could have got on the door that Rose tacked for herself when it went down. So this is for the film. Always thought that he definitely probably could have lived with a bit of consideration for other folk. Yeah.
It's a bit of matter, eh?
Aye.
But plot twist. He could have, like, as much as he could have gotten the door, did he decide that Rose was that big a pain in the arse that he'd rather freeze to death?
It's not worth it. I'm slipping as he's pushing it away.
Jack, hold on. Nah, fuck you.
I can't. I've just remembered something back here.
Oh no.
I think I've ever seen the film all the way through. In fact, I can't how it ends, obviously. But
I've never actually checked this out, but I'm sure I read somewhere once that said that the film took longer than it took for the Titanic itself to sink. Like, the film's longer than the time it took for the boat to actually sink, or the ship. What's the difference between a boat and a ship?
The size, I think. Because you get wee boats, but you don't get wee ships, do you?
Where's Craig when you need him?
Oh, he'd definitely be able to answer it.
Get him to text it in.
Aye, 80295, Craig.
Well, he can text it direct into the group chat, to be fair. He doesn't need to go to
It's fucking
Tim
fun,
Curran.
innit? But I want to have coming to tell us. Team of the week here, it's something about ships and boats. And Tommy Ring. Robert Nevison says, how do you eat your mince? Rare, medium rare, or well done?
You've got to cook your mince.
Properly. Mince is the one you
I
can
looked
have.
this up recently, funnily enough, because my daughter asked me, because I was out for a steak a few weeks ago.
I get the science behind this as well. Go.
Aye.
I've
So,
got a
because my
theory
daughter said,
about
how
it.
can you have? It's not a theory. This is fact. Right. So how can you eat a steak as pink as that, as it was in the photo we took? But you've got to cook the mince because it's the same thing. And so I was like, I don't know actually. So it's to do with the bacteria. The bacteria in the steak, because it's compressed, or it's one bit of meat, you just need to fry it on either side to kill the bacteria. But it's because the mince, it's minced, the bacteria is spread throughout it, so it needs to be cooked fully all the way through. That's
There
why.
you go.
That's how it is.
It's
So
why you
that's your
can't
answer.
have a burger there unless it has to be specially certified meat to get a rare burger. And you're spot on for that.
Thank you.
That reason.
I only googled it 2 weeks ago, or 3 weeks ago. When was it? Middle of August. I was out for that steak, and I got asked the question on the Sunday after it, and I was like, "Fuck, I don't know." So I googled it, and it's in my memory. But you've got qualifications and all that, and that, eh? So
Burger
you know.
University, yeah.
Yeah.
Cooking
Yep.
with Colin. I love it.
QI.
I thought it was going to be something to do with the mince and how it was like the different parts of the body it was made from. Maybe it came from like brain matter or something.
No,
But-
because you could get a fillet steak, right? And so the fillet is the same bit, the actual literal same bit of meat. Fillet steak, you can cook it, have it blue, so long as the outside's cooked. If you take that fillet steak and mince it, as soon as you mince it, you have to cook it so it's all cooked through.
There you go.
Aye.
Educational.
Not better than a raw steak though, or a medium, even medium rare. I'd go to medium rare at a push, but
I like
Do you
it.
like
Really,
yours rare, Colin?
really rare. That's
properly.
how I would have it.
a proper. If you got a proper steak place, like I'm a bit wary of doing it in like a beef eater sort of style place because I ken the boys are still chefs in that, but you know, like you go to a steak place, you're getting it done properly how it's meant to be done. Whereas you go there, always maybe edge up to medium rare or maybe even medium just in case. But then they generally overcook it, so then you're like, fuck's sake. So
Aye.
yeah, but I've actually had it. They call it blue.
Blue.
I've done that like that. I had my old man got it once when I was out with him, and I tried a bit. It was really nice, and I thought never fancied that at all. But
Is
it was
that
nice.
where they sear it 10 seconds on either side?
Aye, it's just in and out. Aye.
Remember last week I was talking about going to France with my pals, mum and dad. His the dad there, he had his blue, and I remember saying to the waiter, "This is lift its tail, wipe its arse, show it the frying pan, and serve it."
Aye.
That was pretty much how
Yeah.
he wanted it.
Yeah.
But the
What does
blue
that
steak
sound
is-
like in French?
Eh, I was going to do a French accent and then say the same words. Yeah, yeah, probably best not to. Right, WTC 1981 says, inspired by Fesshole, what's the most shameful thing you own? I bought and own a Rangers shirt there. I fucking said it. He says, but you know WTC 1981, John, don't you? Why does he
I
own a
do.
Rangers top?
I don't know. This is interesting because me, WTC 1981, and Budgie McBee are all really good pals. And years ago, we found out that McBee, there's photographic evidence exists of him wearing a Heart shirt, believe it or not. But this Rangers shirt revelation is very, very recent. Like, I didn't know about this until he messaged in. So
See the
I'm
shirt
gonna need
collector.
to-
See the guy that
Might
collects
be.
shirts though.
McBee's a shirt collector, aye. So
And
I
that's
don't know
not
what the
he sent
story
a
is.
message in.
No, I don't know what the story is behind the Rangers shirt.
So what's the most shameful thing that you own?
I've got David Cameron's autobiography.
Oh, signed?
No. He done a runner after the Brexit. Couldn't get anything signed after that.
Why have you got his autobiography?
Well, I'm going to read it. Believe it or not. that was the main reason for it.
Do I have it in the background in case you were on BBC News along with some other ones?
Aye. No, I like reading. I've read Tony Blair's one as well. I've got Barack Obama's sitting there to read, and I've read the Alistair Campbell diary. I just quite like reading that kind of shit. I've got Gordon Brown's as well. So it's just like the Prime Ministers of the sort of, I suppose, my adult life. I've got their books.
Has Thatcher got one? You going to go as far back as that?
Aye, nah. Obviously she was the Prime Minister when I was born, like, but no, not got that. I've just got it for Tony Blair onwards, really. Blair got in when I was, what was that, 97 or something? So, what was that, 19, 18? That was the first one I voted in anyway, and Tony Blair was elected, so I've not read it yet. It's sitting on the shelf to read, like, but
Aye.
no, it's one of them that you need to work up because they're always fucking huge. And
Is it-
Obama's is the same, it's massive.
Is it like Better the Devil You Know? Is that what you're looking at? Like get
Oh,
inside
just-
the mind of a arch Tory.
Aye, well, that's it. Aye, I'm the same when I read a paper though. I didn't. So I generally read the Guardian most days on my phone, but I would buy the Sunday Times as well because I think it's important to see this thing with Twitter and that, right? It's like an
You
echo
only see-
chamber. You only see opinions that you agree with.
Aye.
Whereas I like to read the Times because I disagree with it. So I like to read it and go, "You're a fucking arsehole." Like I totally disagree with that. But if you don't know what the other side are thinking, how are you going to beat them?
That's exactly it's exactly the problem with. I was talking about this with Jim. We're going through Edinburgh last night. Twitter and that you see, it's what happens with idiots is they follow other idiots and it reinforces their idiotic views, and then it becomes fucking accepted wisdom. And I include myself in that, because I'm also guilty for that, following mostly things that I agree with. But I'm what you call it, try to follow folk that I didn't like
Yeah.
unless they're the Katie Hopkins or what's the other boy we were talking about, Lawrence Fox, is that his name?
Actor guy. Yeah.
The folk who try to get attention, I'd go, fuck you, that's no
Aye.
serious point of view. It's not worth
Grifters.
any.
Aye.
That's not worth any attention. They can just get in the fucking sea. But I think I like that the devil's advocate thing, innit? Where you just get an opposing view and then it makes you think about it. It's better, I think.
Yep. I think so.
What's the most shameful thing you and John?
I honestly don't know. Might be this 14-year-old laptop that I'm using.
Aye.
It's the history in it, anyway, something.
Was that? It's funny. I've got a new laptop for college for the work that I'm doing there, and I'm making a very deliberate point of not looking at anything untoward. It's just college work. It's just serious stuff. Terry Toshiba can carry the burden of my YouPorn, my Pornhub history, my questionable search entries.
Have you still got your dead body stoner boxers?
I know. Honestly, what is that about buttons? I don't even know. I can't remember what the name of that is. It's no like the Fly. It's whatever the opening is, but I wear like the sort of jersey boxers, just the slip on. There's no rubbing, any untoward rubbing going on there. It's just straight on, straight off.
I got it was like a Christmas present for somebody at work, my last job. And obviously they got it to be nice, but it was like the world's sickest joke book is what it was called. But it was just like fucking it was like you'd opened a Bernard Manning joke book. Like it wasn't like we can talk about some distasteful things from time to time on the podcast, right? And actually, kind of, if anybody was fucking going through a group chat, like you didn't mean it. Do you know what I mean? Like you kind of what makes it what makes it funny is the audience. You get something that is it's like the forbidden thing. You wouldn't say it. And within a day, like they're fucking racist and all that nonsense. Like we're no involved in all that. Just sometimes somebody will make a comment that you'd go fucking hell, right? Out of context, it would look really bad, but the context that is it's fucking harmless. But a whole book of it, I was like, okay, what annoyed me about it, right? Because I was like, I couldn't. I would never tell any of the jokes. But it bothered me that somebody would think that I would have found it all funny.
Yeah.
And I'm no prudish with humour. Like I'll laugh at fucking all sorts generally, but there's some stuff I'm like, that's not funny. It's like a cheap laugh.
Fine, very, very fine line.
Yes.
Tread in terms of just gratuitous sick humour and the stuff that people find funny, and it's a really hard line to tread. I was wondering if that joke book, if it was inspired maybe by. Did you ever look at Wikipedia?
It was that kind of like that kind of thing. That kind of thing. Wikipedia was never a thing. Anyway, I had to subtly ditch it. It's that in my rucksack because I didn't even want to bring it out at home because I didn't want to be associated with it. That's terrible. Like
that was the shameful thing.
I was that bothered by it. And I could have just subtly just chuck it in the bin one day and just hope the person who got me it never asked for like jokes from it or anything like that.
It might have just been one of those like, because I find stuff like that. I hate when people buy me stuff like that for Christmas or it's predominantly a Christmas present, isn't it? It's all the tat that you find on bookshelves and afterthoughts. So no disrespect, because I understand when people buy a present, it's the thought that counts. But I'd rather people thought about what they were buying and go, no, that's a waste of fucking money.
Aye, just didn't bother. We'd rather have had a voucher. Aye. Like Gareth the Office, just give me £10 voucher.
I got this. We got this book called Game on Thrones, and I don't even remember like ever looking at it. And at that point, me and the missus hadn't actually watched Game of Thrones. So again, like the gift, absolutely brilliant, but it's just shite. Just save your money. Don't spend your money on shite for me. I'd rather you didn't do it. I'd rather have nothing at all. And that seems to be an unpopular opinion somehow.
Like it's ungrateful, but it's ungrateful. You just like save your money, save you. Yeah. The thought of not getting it is more important than the thought of getting you something that's fucking completely inappropriate.
Aye.
So
get me nice presents or get me fuck all.
Aye. Boxer shorts, Sean. That's what you want.
Boxer shorts, no buttons, nowhere for my wee to poke through. Jersey style, thank you.
Right, Barry Gordon says, did Colin ever find out Sticky Vicky's daughter's name? When we were on a boys' holiday in '99, I'm sure she was advertised as Sexy Barbara. Finally caught up with the episodes yesterday, so apologies for going over old ground.
Fuck, that was a while ago, eh?
Aye.
I think Sexy Barbara's correct. I don't think that's
Amanda
correct. Sure.
or Louise or something.
It's a normal name like Maria or Marie or something like that, or Amanda or something like that. There's not. Oh, because I mean, looking it up at the time on the show, but I never then read it out.
I hope
The Sexy Barbara thing.
Why is it no? Why is it no a son? Why can it no be like Sticky Allen?
He's not got a fanny.
Aye, but that seems awfully sexist.
It's not sexist, is it?
Maybe it is.
If you've not got the actual tool, you need to fucking
it's maybe
smoke
just
fags or whatever
popular.
it is you're doing. You know what I mean? Aye.
Are you saying that men can't have vaginas?
Oh, fuck me.
I don't know if I'm naughty. Didn't get this right.
Mayday.
No, but there was a boy in the festival who used to hang stuff off his belly, though. Eh?
Aye.
Was that Puppetry of the Penis? I never saw it.
Aye. He used to hang like heavy weights off it and that. But anyway, the Sexy Barbara thing, so that isn't he? I'm trying to recall this. This is somebody tried to like steal her job or steal her like when she retired or whatever, tried to associate herself with it when it was nothing to do with her. I'm sure it was. Right. I'm sure that was obviously doing a similar thing. Aye, because she was old to women, eh? Sticky Vicky. So she was obviously packing it in. Her daughter.
And then firing it out again. Packing it in and then firing it out.
Gadea Arag.
Oh, a Spanish name. That's a Spanish name, eh? Aye.
Sticky Maria.
Moist Maria would be, yeah. Have to go with the alliteration.
Right, Mal Bergen says, I want to mix and match some fast food, Whopper, McDonald's chips, KFC corn, and Five Guys milkshakes. You have to get that one right. Any others? So if you were mixing and matching a fast food, what would your meal be?
The Five Guys chips are really good.
See if you had them with KFC gravy.
I've not had that. I did go to KFC very often.
I've never had.
Have you know? It's quite expensive. It can be expensive, like if you're going with the family and that. We done it in London when we were away earlier in the year, and it cost me a fucking fortune because we've got milkshakes, and milkshakes are about a fucking £5 a pop as well. And they're good, but you know, £5 for a milkshake. But they gave far too many chips, and this is somebody who can eat a lot of chips, and I was sitting like, but there was far too many. But the chips, they've got the normal ones, which are good. Is it Cajun, I think, is the other one? There's a spicy option anyway, they're decent. So I'd have KFC, Five Guys chips on the list.
Aye. I'd have the chips, the chicken gravy for KFC, and probably Nando's chicken thighs. Can the Nando's count as fast food still?
You can take it away, yeah. You can get a takeaway, so.
More or less is. Or you, John?
I'd maybe get a pizza for the chippy. Like, can you get some of them?
Kebab pie, John.
I need to try one.
I reckon I've sold another couple. My mate Neil was over this afternoon, and I was telling him about them. And he'll be out and about next week, doing some labouring that he's been doing. And I've said the rest of it with the silent T. Bakers kebab pie. Because at first he done the John reaction. He was like, and I tell him I was chili sauce but onion in it, and he was like, "Oh fuck that! Mary think about that. Mary fancy it." So right, him and my Spence will be doing on Monday.
See, when I'd messaged Alan last night, and I got a bit of chat off him this morning, and he said to me like he was really busy with work now, and then he like through the course of the conversation he mentioned that he'd sold 700 Galatasa pies, 700 in 2 weeks. I'm thinking, that's fucking outrageous. Like for a trial run, for it to have been as popular as it's been. And I seem to have influenced that. And to be fair, he did also mention that it was me, Longbangers, Fattest Prickus, and I can't remember the other names he mentioned.
Down the slope, I think, got credit on Twitter.
But
that's 50 a day.
That's 50, and that I don't know what his output is normally like through the other pies. That just seems to be incredible that we have played a part in putting businesses.
You could, if there was some sort of chart you could compare it with. There must be a suitable graphic chart you could use to compare pie sales.
Aye. So I was asking him because I started to get a wee bit
Like a pie
curious.
chart.
Like I've got
Like
that
a pie chart.
a pie chart. I've got that analytical mind. Like I was asking him, like, was it because we're saying like that works out as 50 a day, but I was wondering if there was maybe a wee bit of a spike when Hibs played at home, and he said there was maybe just like a little bit, but actually it's been like the demand has been there every single day, and it's just like I was saying to him like that. I think I'd mentioned a couple of weeks ago on one of the podcasts that people were talking about like their wee side games when they were during lockdown, maybe when they were furloughed for their work or whatever, they maybe set up like a wee Etsy shop or something.
Aye.
Punting pies. That is my lockdown story.
Well, it's an interesting. I suppose this is like the power of advertising, isn't it? Like, so we should have a sponsor. This is why folks should sponsor us to do the podcast. Look at the fucking benefits that we can have to folks' businesses. Anything. We're no fussy. We put anything on here.
We have demonstrable reach. We have taken a product from nothing, and it wasn't just a case of like we suggested something. We went out to people and said, we engaged with people and said, well, I don't think this is going to work. What would you include in that? And then we went back to the producer who did it. And here we are, 700 pies later.
700 pies later. Right. Next question. And so, as actually, by happy coincidence, is for Aldo, Jed Pie Master. It says fictional night in with the boys. Pick 4 from any point in time, but one has to be a footballer, one has to be an actor or actress, one has to be a singer, and the last one is a wild card. Who have you got and why? So
you've got the drinks in, you've maybe got a few bags of Doritos, pies, obviously.
Yep.
Actor or actress. Footballer. See the footballer thing. I'm going to say that they can be alive or dead, right? But when they come to your night out, they'll be alive.
Yeah. Aye, like you're not going to.
I'm not just going to pick up George Best.
Yeah, you're not just going to prop up a corpse, no.
Like the automatic inclination there for the footballer is to go for like Maradona or Best because they're bevy merchants or ching merchants, not necessarily in that order.
And they'd have good stories.
Aye. Like you wouldn't get Pele because Pele seems like Pele's going to try and punt you Viagra. Maradona's going to say
maybe get Pele. Aye. Colin,
Kenny, I think would be good. Would be see for a bit of a laugh. Jimmy Bullard, I think he'd be quite funny. Or Ray Parlour. I'm trying to think of like a Scottish equivalent, but nothing's coming to my mind.
I tell you, I caught a wee bit of it was Paul Lambert on with Tom English on BBC earlier on the radio, and I was coming back from the train station, and he wouldn't be on my guest list. It was fucking dull as anything.
Dull.
Aye. Colin, the question here, it was you've got to pick 4 from it. So a fictional night in with the boys. Pick 4 from any point in time, but one has to be a footballer, one has to be an actor or an actress, one has to be a singer, and the last one is a wild card.
Right.
So who's on?
Roy Keane. Never says Roy Keane yet.
Oh, fuck it, Roy Keane's a good shout.
I thought about Roy Keane because I watched that wee snippet of an interview they had with Gary Neville recently where he was talking about that thing that you mentioned the other week about people want to come and get his photo. Like,
aye.
What do you want my photo for?
It's a good interview, like.
Did you 50 minutes long. Did you see somebody showed the Mirror in Ireland, the headline that they got out of it was Roy's booze shame. Because he says when they were talking about going for drinks after a kind of a Wednesday or a Saturday after the game, and Ferguson would comment and say, how much do you have to drink?
Like him.
He says 10 or 12 bottles. And he says, what were you thinking? He says, fuck, what were you thinking? What would you say if I told you the truth? They made that out as if he was like admitting to some fucking drinking shame. Do you know, like as if it was an incredible twist on what he actually fucking said. Roy Keane would be a decent. I'd probably go for Anthony Stokes for a similar reason to you, John, with the Best and Maradona. I know that he's on. It's no far off it, given what he did. No far off those at that level, but he'd have some stories, I think.
Do you know Stokes isn't a bad shout because he's just a bit of a rad, isn't he?
Aye.
He doesn't come across as a conversationalist, though.
That's fair.
I'm sure
He might be, but
Marvin Bartley had him on a podcast, and he was good. It was like a really good, interesting, interesting wee podcast. Actor or actress?
I've scribbled, if it was an actor, I'm going to go Denzel Washington. And if it was an actress, I'm going to go Jennifer Lawrence. Is it? She
Aye.
was in Silver Linings Playbook, but that's just purely because I think she's really, really tidy. And I'd like to just look at her for an
you could do
evening.
a different list here. You could do a list of people you'd think would be interesting and have a good bit of banter and a bevy in that, and just another list.
Aye.
Along the lines of what John's talking about.
Aye.
I think Kelly Scott would. Is it Kelly Scott? She'd be top of the list for the footballer on that list. I think. Is it
Who's Kelly Scott?
No,
The-
Kelly. What's her name?
Alex Scott, is it the
Alex Scott.
commentator?
Oh,
Pundit, no commentator, pundit.
Yeah. Aye, but Ricky Gervais would be an actor. Eh? He's counted as an actor.
Aye.
Take him.
Aye, Gervais, singer.
I've got Joe Cocker because he was meant to have been a bit of a Raj back in the day.
Aye, Shane McGowan's another one that was fucking wild. Would be a good laugh.
See, I'm going to have to argue the point for Joe Cocker here, just on the basis that I think you might get some sort of level of coherence out of him, whereas Shane McGowan, I think he's just a piss artist and he's going to be lying in a pool of his own piss.
Like
And I didn't
having
mean,
Father
that's-
Jack.
aye, I know that sounds maybe a wee bit disrespectful, but it's not meant to be. I just think he's going to be, I get the impression that he'd be a lazy drunk. Like, and I
Aye.
think we all know someone in our company who would be that drunk. Like, once they've just had too many, that's them, they are comatose in the corner. If I'm having a
Aye.
dinner party, I want someone that can hold their bevy and have a chat.
Aye.
As much as shit chat as it might be, entertain me.
Aye.
And
I might go Noel Gallagher for the singer. Boring, then I've answered that similar questions previously like that, but Roy Keane doesn't like him either, so that would be interesting.
Aye.
oh, a wee bit niggle in the room.
And
Let's
Noel
see
doesn't
where
like
I'm
Roy
going
Keane because he's Man United, so I think that would be a good bit of start to it.
My
And then I'm
wild card
thinking-
would be Bob Mortimer. That's who I'd go for my wild card.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking Mickey Flanagan, so I was thinking comedian route as well.
Mickey Flanagan.
Because or Kim Bridges, because but I think I'd go Flanagan. I think in that environment there, I think that would be. And then I'd maybe think about taking Gervais in that case though.
I like Gervais is interesting though. Like he's clever
Mm.
and funny, which is a good combination.
Yeah.
That's why this podcast works.
I was going to say this.
I'm trying to think of a
That's
wild
sweet.
card. Like I've not got a footballer written down here, but I've got Denzel Washington, Joe Cocker. I need a footballer and a wild card that helps sort of cement the four. Like I've got two of the four cornerstones there.
Get Sean Locke in, because that was tragic what happened with him. So get him in
Aye.
if we've got the chance to. He's very funny.
Nah, he'd be a good one actually. Yeah,
But
because
is
he takes a piss out. He would take the piss out anybody.
Aye.
Aye,
as
but
well.
does he epitomise wild card? He doesn't for me.
Joe Wilkinson does. He's pretty like they bring him in. It's just
Wild card. But wild card just means anybody. It doesn't
Aye.
mean that they need to be a
They're-
bit off the wall.
Aye.
It just means
Aye, I
that they're
know,
not
but-
one of an actor or a singer.
Aye, but wild card, I might as well say, well, I'll get my postie in. Just because he's
If he
came
fits
up,
the
but actually, my
celebrity
postie
list,
is actually dead nice, and I often, when I'm out with the dog and he's coming in with the post, I'll just nod to him and go, wearing shorts today? Aye, because I'm wearing shorts as well, right up until about December 17th when it gets a wee bit too chilly.
Aye, same here. But he's not a celebrity though, posted though.
But he's a wild card. He can be
Aye,
anyone.
so you can have your poster in.
Oh, so it doesn't need to be a celebrity. So it could be like dead. It could be a
Dave
dead
the postie.
parent or a dead relative or something. As well, I guess. I've not got.
All right, Ricky says, can we now get rid of Steve Clark? He's won in the last 9 games, and his version of football was shite. Well, they won the night, so it'll be 2 in the last 10.
2 and 10.
I think they can who you're getting instead of.
Who we're replacing him with? Aye, that's the problem, isn't it? So I get rid of him and what, get in like fucking Alex McLeish or something again.
Craig Levine again.
Can,
He's not doing anything these days.
can I recommend 2 books to Ricky? One of them's called Tor, the other one is called Das Reboot, and they talk about German football and how they went about winning the 2014 World Cup and how they won the World Cup in 1954 without having a professional league. It's not just about Steve Clarke, it's about the infrastructure around Steve Clarke and how every single club would have to buy into his or the SFA's vision for producing a World Cup European Championship qualifying team.
No, you can't. You can't recommend that. But thanks for asking. Right, fattest
700
Prickus.
sales of these books in the next 2 weeks, guaranteed.
Sick.
Back to the top sellers list.
Get on Amazon now before the price goes up. Fattest Prickus, the JX, her from 1996, sung that song, There's Nothing I Won't Do. Was she referring to her bucket list, and has she come across a thing that she regrets saying she'd do yet? Well, undoubtedly, I would think, for the last part.
Now, I think did I mention her on the show the other week? Was she no?
Or
she the
was
one,
it Sonique that you mentioned?
Was it Sonique? There was one of them. One of them was on. There was a Channel 5 program, Music Through the 90s, and she was on it. And she had a skinhead at the time in the 90s. She's on the show with like long blonde sort of hair, and she looks totally different to what she did. So she probably regrets having a skinhead in the 90s.
Aye.
Because, but I might have the wrong one. I can't remember. I'm trying to think of what one it was that was on that programme.
Do you think it's a reputation folk would want?
What, being a skinhead?
No, being somebody who had nothing that they wouldn't do.
What they wouldn't do. Aye, sure is, yeah.
That would, in the right environment amongst the right people, that would be a really popular quality.
Yeah,
is what you're getting at.
Aye. It's a class clown, though, isn't it? Is what it comes to. So either the class clown or the class bike. And that's not sex. That goes either way. Whichever gender.
The guy gets called a stud.
Well, I'm classing the guy could be the bike as well. Anything goes these days. So that's what it would be. Kind of if they just would do anything, folk pick them up to stuff. It's just idiots again, isn't it?
Do you think that men? Listen, I've had a canny tenants and a healthy measure of Jura. Do you think that men would stop being regarded as studs if women stopped sleeping with them?
What?
No, Darren. So I'm just thinking.
Well,
I know that this is controversial. That's exactly my point. If no one is sleeping with the guy isn't a stud. He's not regarded amongst his friends as a Don Juan, a Lothario or whatever. He's just
a shagger.
It's a shagger.
Or a shagger, aye, whatever you want. Aye, sorry, I was throwing a wee bit trying to throw a wee bit culture into the podcast.
Speak to the audience.
So your mate's not a shagger if he's no like. And the thing is, like, I was at work and someone, I think it was in a training group, and someone was talking about Tinder, and they were talking about how every person they met, every person this woman met, they knew one of her friends that they'd already slept with. Like, the world was just too small, so they were like, "Nah, you're off limits. You're off limits." And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, men aren't shaggers if people were able to go. Sorry, if women were able to say, "Kim, what, you're a fucking dick. Like, you're not interested in me for me. You're just wanting your hole."
Aye. To be fair, but I'd be fucked if I found that out earlier.
Again.
Or not.
Didn't let's not publicise this. Fucking
Come on, John.
Robin Truth Bomb.
I had a mate who I think was borderline addicted to Tinder. But to actually kind of have a conversation with him about coming off it. Fucking mental.
What do you mean? Like, was he sitting there just like swiping? Did he have one of those automated tools that just swipes right on everything?
Have you seen the Family Guy where Quagmire gets it and he just basically just destroys his finger like that? Kim, you were saying
easier nowadays, though.
Aye.
Tinder and that.
Aye.
Do you think
that's more honest then kind of like you think how life was and how you had to go about that whole that whole ritual, rigmarole. Kind of back in the day, right? And there was kind of very kind of set ways of kind of going about like that meeting ritual. If you wanted, if Attenborough was commentating on it, he would be describing kind of fairly consistently what was going on in nightclubs and stuff like that, right? Whereas now it's just like it's transactional, isn't it? Like it's just they're all right, and then if they like you, then that's that.
I almost envy people that can do that. I've never. So I think I've talked about this before, where someone that invades my personal space too early, that's it. You are crossed off the list. You are Sindai. I'm just like totally turned off, put off you forever. And it doesn't even have to be on like a romantic level. Like even if you're approaching me as a friend and it's the first time I've met you, you're trying to give me a cuddle. Oh no. Fuck you. Like you and I will never be friends. Yeah. Try to give me a cuddle. No, can't be friends.
No hugger. Really. Right. Where were we going with that? Right. Niall Kenny, salt and or pepper on your sandwiches. He's yes to both. I would put salt on sandwiches generally.
For anything you have on a sandwich, like?
Well, it depends on the sandwich, but like a ham salad would be a bit of salt on it, egg mayonnaise, salt. When you put on a bacon sandwich, bacon's already salt enough.
Is it egg mayonnaise or is it egg with salad cream?
Egg mayonnaise. Egg with salad cream. If you know that's what you're getting, fine. If somebody tells you it's egg mayonnaise and they present you with egg with salad cream, that should be a crime.
Am I right in saying that salad cream is just mayonnaise with like a bit of mustard or something through it?
I've no idea. I've never researched it.
Probably is. Aye. Let's go with that.
Sounds a bit right.
Looks like it could be.
Tastes like it as well. Right.
Yeah.
Do you remember you used to get a sandwich spread? Like kind of if you would have had it when you were wee, it was like a jar, and it was like sort of, it was almost like sort of coleslaw type fucking stuff. I'm not even sure what it was. It was in it. Sandwich spread. It was called. I think it was maybe made by Heinz.
Do you remember the wee tins? We're old enough. I don't know if John's quite old enough yet, but the wee tins of paste.
Meat paste?
Yeah.
Paste. Was salmon paste.
Sarsons or Princes or something.
Something like that.
No.
I think you can still get it. But I think who's buying it.
Because they're like slightly exotic. So I think you got maybe like a very basic one that was like tuna mayo, but there was maybe another one that was like a fancy tuna mayo and it had like peppers or sweet corn or both that were through it.
That's similar to the one he's talking about. The ones I'm talking about were wee jars.
Aye.
And it was just, they all looked the same. It just tasted a wee bit different because whatever had been mashed into the jar.
Stuff that didn't make it
colour. It was all the same fucking jar. It was just a different label on it.
It was the stuff that didn't make it into cat food, pretty much. It's like, can't be getting the cats that. Just fucking call it paste and stick it in a jar. I think what's the difference between that and pate though? Pate's nice, eh? Like folk kind of turn the roast up at pate, but
no, but it's a bit. Well, that's presented like with a sort of like was it a terrine or whatever, like as a with
the jelly or a bit of fat.
Aye. Whereas the stuff in the jar was just I don't know what the fuck it was.
I'm going to have a look next time in Tesco. If it's there, I might get some for experimental purposes.
So what was it you were saying? Your pate, is that not the one that results for like geese and whatnot being force fed?
No, that's foie gras.
Foie gras, yeah.
Aye.
And the other one's just fucking leftover scrapings off the floor.
So see, back to that question though. Do you have salt and pepper on your sandwich? Like I wouldn't, unless it's got like I don't know, tomato or lettuce or cucumber.
It is filling dependent.
But wouldn't you have a ham and cheese sandwich? There would be salt in it. No.
Well, a ham sandwich, I'll put a wee bit of salt on a ham sandwich. Or ham and cheese. Aye, just a wee bit. Aye.
See, if someone else was making my sandwich, I would go for it. I remember there was a place down Broughton Street that I would go and get a fancy roll from. At least it seemed fancy to me. Like it was a
Subway, George. Have you been to Subway?
It was a roll. The name I can't remember the pronunciation of. It was like tuna mayonnaise. It was beetroot. It was red onion. There was a couple there was maybe some salad leaves on there. I'm sure there was salt and pepper. But see, if I would never make that myself. I'm too lazy. Peanut butter in the cupboard. Aye, fine.
I wouldn't put salt on a peanut butter sandwich.
No,
It's peanut butter
no.
salty enough anyway. All right, Andy said, would you rather get one kick in the balls by Daz or a 30-second nipple cripple on both nipples by Matt Macy? And he says he can't give any context on why either of this would be in that position, by the way. But 30 seconds nipple twisting or a good kick in the balls for Daz.
I'm going to go nipple twist.
Is he wearing the gloves or no?
Well,
So
that is actually...
with the gloves, so I'm going to go for that because I'm assuming he's wearing gloves because he's a goalie. So
I assumed in that scenario that if Darren McGregor was going to be kicking me in the balls, it would be
football
full
boots,
kit wanker, football boots, socks, you name it, shin pads, the whole kit and caboodle.
Well, run up.
I actually thought he would slide tackle me in the balls.
Aye, Matt Macy every day. Right. Ray said there's a direct correlation between how clinically obese people are and how fast they drive. Faster for fatter. I think it's because they have mobility without effort and they revel in it. Discuss. Also correlation between louder the exhaust, the lower the intelligence. So I'm fat and I didn't drive fast. Like I'm more or less at the speed limit or ever so slightly over it. So I don't know if that I'm obese, like by the medical definition, I am obese. So I'm not sure if I'm the exception that proves the rule. How do you drive? And where do you stand on the scale?
Definitely in the obese category. However, I don't drive. No, because it's Audis and BMWs. We all know that it's them that are the cause. So it's the correlation between Audi and BMW drivers. Rather than they're not always obese. They're driving that kind of car, so they think then they have a higher priority level on the road. There is a correlation between old people and fucking folk faffing on roads, though. Because that is 100% what happens.
My biggest problem on the roads, what I find is that certain people gravitate towards certain vehicles, and typically there is an overweight male or female behind the wheel of an SUV type motor, so like a big Volvo XC90 I think they're called, or I don't know, like a Ford EcoSport or something.
Nissan Qashqai.
Aye, one of them, like I've got.
Aye. But no, and I mean like I think there's carrying a bit of timber, carrying an extra bit of timber, and then there's just being big fat bastards behind the wheel of that type of motor, and they seem to be ridiculous. Like they're the people that I find that when I'm on the road, when there's a problem, they're behind the wheel. Like they are the most obnoxious of drivers, I find.
Aye,
I've not noticed it before, but that could be because I'm one of them. I don't know. Maybe I'm one of them.
it's gonna be beef. like bus drivers gonna waste each other. All right, Ray. Well, if anybody knows if there is an actual scientific answer to that one, text it to 0295. Carl said, "What's the most expensive thing you've left behind somewhere, and did you see someone else using it after you'd left it?" So I'd lost a pair of Calvin Klein glasses that cost a fucking fortune. Not sunglasses, but actual ones that I needed to see at Reading Festival. I didn't leave them behind as such. They got kicked off my head as somebody was crowd surfing the very first night we were there. And we were near the front, Primal Stream were on. And they were kicked off my head. The time I looked down, we weren't in the same spot where we were when it happened. And so they were gone, trampled to fuck, whatever. So I never saw anybody else wearing them, but they never made it back for that field. That's probably my worst one.
The one that always sticks in my mind is a Hibs training top for years ago. I think it was Tony Mowbray era, gunmetal grey, the sort of wind cheater style thing. There's maybe pictures like I'm sure I remember a picture of Kevin Thompson, Scott Brown wearing it. And I was playing football at the Corn Exchange one Friday night, and I left it hanging up in the change rooms by accident, and went back to get it, and it was gone, and I fucking hated it. But strip collector Budgie McBee managed to hook me up with a replacement 15 years later, still got it in the cupboard, still wear it from time to time.
I had Hugo Boss roll-on deodorant, right? So like back when it's like Boss Sport aftershave was out, right, which was nice. I had the roll-on deodorant to go with it. That was quite expensive for what it was. And I was away working in Stranraer, and somebody chose it. Like it was a Rangers fan that chose it as well. If I found it after, who chose a roll-on deodorant like that?
No.
That's like that's something like you didn't swap it with your pals or that, do you? You know, like you certainly wouldn't lift it off a stranger.
No,
It's a
strange
bit
what you
minging,
say.
isn't it? Like, imagine you say it was a roll-on deodorant.
Aye, but do you know the ones that are only like the ball roll on?
It's kind of like the longer one.
It's like a waxy sort of substance,
Aye.
like that, which is
But
worse
imagine
because that catches your like armpit hair and everything on it.
that's exactly what I'm thinking. Like, imagine opening that up, going, fucking
Aye, oh, Ken.
just Matty Fairney's armpit hair nestling amongst your own.
You wouldn't be wanting it back anyway, Ken, after that, especially with a fucking hun. But you know, aye, the characters have kind of been left behind, but it was chored. What were you calling?
So I've got a similar story about the glasses, but mine's on the designer. But we were at some big works to do at Oxenford Castle. You heard of that? It's down towards Vogrie and that, down the A68. And it was like all outdoor marquees and that. Lost my glasses. Got too dark, couldn't find them. Walking about for the rest of the night, like couldn't see anything, and couldn't find them. Looking for ages. Went back down on the Sunday because the Saturday was a write-off. This was during the World Cup '98. That's how long ago it was. I remember I was lying in my bed, couldn't watch the telly because, like we were talking last week, the colours were. It's when Bergkamp scored that goal in the World Cup. Came in, the ball came over and he brought it down. Aye. Against, was it Argentina? Maybe they were playing.
Yep.
And
I can tell you the name of their goalkeeper.
So that was the Friday. That game was the Saturday. I drove back down there on the Sunday once I'd recovered, and I walked straight to where I thought I'd lost my glasses. They were lying there in the grass. Picked them up, put them back.
Aye, super.
Aye, amazing, eh? Couldn't believe it. I was like, I've looked for ages on fucking Friday night. Obviously pissed. Couldn't find them. Walked straight on the Sunday to go. There's a roundabout here. There. Picked them up. But another one was I was a bairn playing football at Peffermill, and I'd got new boots, and I'd worn them once, Adidas boots, and I left them in the changing rooms. Then my granny was going back and everything the day after. Nah, not there, somebody else picked them up. We pair of Adidas. My first pair of Adidas boots, it must have been about 10 maybe, playing for the primary school team.
It's funny that I left a pair of Puma shin pads at East Calder Primary School after a football tournament there.
Aye.
Don't know how much they cost.
I left a pair of glasses at Honeycomb, but they were in lost property the next day. Phoned up and they still had them, so that was all right. Like if you get it back, it counts as having left it. Right, Fattest Pricky said, if you had to have 5 heads, would you want them to be side by side across your shoulders on 5 different necks, or would you want them one on top of the other? All the faces would look the exact same, obviously, and I've attached a sketch for clarity.
Obviously.
And I thought, oh, that's going to be too.
Nah, I can't see it.
That can't see it. That's fucking tight.
Bright.
That too bright. So basically, it's got on one of them is a body with 5. It's because it's white. It'll work on the screen anyway. 5 heads, one on top of the other, and then another one is just like a longer body with 5 necks and heads.
I reckon I'd go the horizontal rather than the vertical.
I think you'd never be lonely, eh? That's.
So you can have a turn and chat, make eye contact.
Aye. I bet you'd be at least once where you'd have an awkward, somebody would misinterpret a look and go in for the kiss.
But you couldn't, what would be the on top of each other? You couldn't do anything other than it make you taller, I suppose. So if you want to be taller, that'd be the only reason.
It'd be great when you were wee because you could get a big coat and you could go into like the older movies, buy a drink.
Yeah.
See if you had 5 beads like all stacked on top of each other. Your arms, like, so Alex has not said anything about the length of your arms, so they're just like ordinary body size. Surely you wouldn't be able to reach the 5th head to be able to feed yourself. So does that head just like starve and wither away, or do you find some other method with which to feed it? Like, is that where the food has to enter the human body?
I think what you would have is like a wee contraption, like a pedal bin, sort of, to where you pinged it and it would shoot the food up.
Like a wee catapult.
Like a catapult.
Be like that table tennis player you were talking about the other week.
Aye. Fuck all. That. Would they all have different names?
Would they all have different brains? Would they all have different personalities? And how much would those personalities affect the body?
Would it be independent thought on each one? Is this basically we're talking about Siamese twins?
I was thinking that was exactly
Conjoined.
what I was going with.
Conjoined.
Sorry.
They're not conjoined, are they? Because this is 5 individual distinct heads.
What's
conjoined are joined together, aren't they?
That's true. So, what's the technical term for this then? Is conjoined still conjoined if there's more than?
I think the technical term is nonsense.
Has there ever? No, genuinely though. You know, like we've heard of Siamese, now conjoined twins, but has there ever been 3 bodies joined, like 3 heads joined by one body, or 3 bodies joined together?
Have there ever been conjoined triplets?
Are you googling it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no. Right, without googling anything, I'm going to say no.
It sounds unlikely because of biology and the way that the cells split.
So America's miracle babies, Mackenzie and Macy, made national news as infants. Though they and Madeline were born as triplets, Mackenzie and Macy were conjoined, sharing a pelvis and a third leg. So no, there was one that wasn't conjoined then, and 2 that were. Can conjoined triplets exist? No, it looks like only.
I think it would be possible, really, because you think, like, where would the third person be? You know what I mean? They would have to be at an angle where they couldn't, like, walk or anything. You know what I mean? They'd be.
So my very, very, very limited understanding of conjoined twins is that they're quite often. Well, there's one couple who were joined by, I think it was the head or the upper back. I'm not entirely sure about other body parts, but could you have someone that was joined by, say, the hip to the hip, and then someone on the other side that was joined by the hip to the hip?
Yeah.
But I would imagine that would be a really problematic birth.
Well, aye.
That'd be a cesarean, like, it's not coming out.
Right, let's move on. Soze 47062 says, penalty shootout, would you rather score the pen that won it or be the goalkeeper who saved it and your team won?
I'd always rather be the player. Who was the goalie?
Aye.
You know what I mean? You're only in goals because you're not good enough to play football.
But then you look at Conrad Logan's place in Hibernian folklore, Colin.
Yeah.
And
the goalie gets a lot of credit for a penalty shootout. Like, when they get 5 attempts, if they save 1, they're the hero. They've no saved 4.
Yeah, because you remember Conrad Logan more than that than Jason Cummins, who scored the winner.
Aye. That was more the circumstance than the penalty shootout, though.
Aye.
You remember the person that's missed one more than you remember the goalie that saved it. On the other hand.
Aye.
So I think the player.
Show your workings. Tell us about. Well, actually, I was thinking there. Gareth Southgate missed in '96, but was it Andreas Kupka was the goalkeeper?
Oh, dickhead.
Yeah, I wonder if that's just because I'm really quite nerdy about these things.
Aye, I could rather be the player as well. It's better taking a penalty than try to save one.
I don't know, but see, when you're the goalkeeper in that situation, like, you're kind of like, as much as you are the last line of defence, like, in that situation, you are the last line of defence. Like, you have opportunity to be a hero. And the thing about a goalkeeper as well is, like, there can be a bad penalty that you save, but there can be a really good penalty that you also save. And I think that's the sort of the greater glory in that scenario.
It's easier. Aye, it's easier for the goalie, definitely. Is that what you're saying? No,
I mean, so I think the goalkeepers.
I think you were just pretty dismissive of goalkeepers there, John, if I'm honest with you.
So what I'm saying is, if a striker, whoever it is that's hitting the penalty, if he hits it low to the left, but it's a bit weak, it's no in the corner, that's an easy save for the goalkeeper. In that situation, you kind of go, well, the player's hit a shit penalty, so that's
Aye.
where Colin was coming in
But
to
the
say,
goalie
well,
still
you
gets the
remember.
credit, Yeah.
Aye, but you in your scenario, I think, Colin, you were saying that you remember the player that missed that penalty, whereas
Yeah.
a really good penalty that a
The
goalkeeper
keeper
saves,
saves.
that's like the ultimate echelon of goalkeeping prowess in that scenario of you're not expected to save anything, but I've managed to get my hand up to the top corner,
So
tip it away or put it wide or whatever.
when was the last time you saw a goalkeeper make an amazing penalty save?
That's a good question.
Thanks. I can't
There's
think of one
I'm
anyway.
trying to the Euros even was most recent examples, and I can't remember. Like there was penalty saves, but I can't remember if they were good ones. The England penalties weren't very good in the final, rather than it being brilliant saves. But then the earlier rounds, I can't remember. That's what I mean. It's like, nah,
Scoring, right?
I definitely scoring.
Right, 150k in handling houses. What size of trouser waist and shirt collar size would make you look like a balloon animal, and what animal would you be? So I guess you'd have to be really, really tight. I think they said anything below a 38.
Not necessarily. There must be hippo balloon animals out there.
Aye, but you still, like, the whole point of balloon animal is to differentiate it, but they have like that really tight. So at some point, would they twist it, and that's where you're.
Aye, but the twist isn't to suggest thinness. It's just to say this is a leg. So, like, you get a poodle, for example, and you can go, right, that's a French poodle because it looks like a French poodle. But you could definitely get a hippopotamus balloon animal, and you wouldn't go, well, it's skinny because I've twisted the leg.
But you still need something to make it skinny to get the twisty bit, though.
I'm going to Google it right now. I bet you there's a hippopotamus balloon animal. Hippo balloon.
But
I'm maybe.
I've not got an answer to this.
properly.
I've no fucking idea. Like, but you do need to differentiate it.
Does that look like?
But right,
So what's his waist size?
So that still looks fat. That still looks like a hippo.
Aye, it does.
Doesn't
Right,
look skinny at any point.
but look, right. So you get the bulbous bit at the start, right?
Yep.
To get to the next bulbous bit, that's would effectively be where your trouser waistline would be, right? And your belt, right? To get that, the differentiate between the two bulbous bits.
Aye.
Right. So I could only be a bumpy snake or something like that, right? Because an upright one, because I'm not flexible, right? I'm fucking fat and old, so I couldn't be twisted around to contort like a poodle or fucking man like that. So anything below a 38 probably for waist size would cause a bulbous bottom and a bulbous top, and the shirt collar again 16, something like that, less than that, and then I'd have a big fat heat as the blood got to it or whatever, or the oxygen got trapped inside it. I think who would be different to that, unless you're dead flexible, that you could be twisted around.
Aye, I was thinking ferret, but I don't know if that works.
And what's your neck size and waist size?
I don't know.
I was thinking ferret. But I kid somebody was going to say that tonight. Right. We'll move on. That's pickles my heat, that question. Right. The Hibs here said, who really shot JR? Bobby Ewan.
Is that who done it? He never done it, did he?
I can't mind. I remember the story of him being shot and everything, but I can't remember.
Was it no like a bit part character, like someone that hadn't been in it for that long? I think it was a woman.
It was. What's a woman like?
Just a woman scorned.
The Bobby bit was
the shower. He woke up after
a dream. I missed the whole series. He must have left or something. I can't remember. He left and came back.
Had he been killed off? But the way that they managed to write him back into the story was that someone had fallen asleep and he stepped in the shower.
That's it. A whole series later. A whole series was like she was dreaming that, mate.
Because the shower.
Everybody accepted it because it was 80s, and it was like fucking 40 million folk used to watch it.
It was the Commodore 64 era. Everyone just went, "That's fucking shit." But it's fine. It's fine.
That'll do.
Right, last question comes to Jay Caldwell. If 1 is 55, brackets, excluding Division 2, Division 1 and Champ equals 3 or 58 or 4, close brackets. Barring 3 must be approximately 30,000 plus. Are they using the same accountancy as the old stickies?
Absolutely.
Did you see the Union Bear stuff? I actually shared in the group chat. What a fucking load of nonsense that is. That's actual grown-ups that are involved in that.
That's the Rangers media partner.
Hi, mentally.
So the Union? Who are the Union Bears? What do they do, and how is it they found themselves in a position to be an official media partner of Rangers Football Club?
So the Union Bears, I think it was Bungle, Bear in the Big Blue House, and fucking maybe Chewbacca, but I reckon Chewbacca probably ducked out at early doors when he saw the other cunts that were involved in it.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Right, Steven Gerrard, well-respected footballer, one of the best of his era, and that. Hey, Stephen, just going to the media. It's the Union Bears that are first up, and he's going.
Who?
Union
What?
Bears. Bears.
You'd be going,
Fucking Bears,
well, they're not real bears, are they? Like,
No.
they're not real bears. They're not got big claws and big paws, have they?
What a childish fucking name to call yourself a bear. Yeah, fucking hell. Just
Aye. And you can tell when you see the statement, it's all like in caps lock in. They've been fucking one finger typing it, like fucking raging, trying to fit some big words in and that to make them sound
fucking
like no
delighted
complete
it's caught
fucking
with them.
morons.
Delighted for them.
Aye.
All the tweets coming back to haunt them.
So, the thing is that there's a theory that because the media have been shut out at Ibrox, that they've just gone, fuck yous, we'll go after you now then.
But they never tweeted them, eh? These guys tweeted this.
Aye.
So
is this the thing about Anne Frank? Is that what they're getting hauled over the coals?
No, that's no. They're using that to try and blame somebody else.
So what about it?
Because they're going, well, we said all this horrible stuff about Catholics, etc., etc. But that guy said something about Anne Frank. Look.
Aye. So let us waive it. And they're saying that there are no bigots and the kind of folk weren't singing the songs and all this kind of nonsense. They're fucking arseholes, man. The thing that gets me about it, right? And I always say, see if you're going to be a bigot like that, right, and you're going to sing the songs, then at least have the fucking balls to admit it when you get caught out. And then you go shiting out and say, no, that wasn't what we were doing. It's one of my biggest pet hates. If you do something that you shouldn't be doing and you get caught, fucking own it. Didn't go pretending you didn't do it or come up with some cock and bull fucking story that, no, but it sounded like that, but it was actually these words that we were singing. It just, if you lip read it, it might have looked like it. No, you sang it, just fucking own it.
Do you remember when they were, I want to say that they were playing in Israel and they were accused of giving Nazi salutes and they said, no, it's not a Nazi salute, it's a red hand salute.
Red hand salute.
Fuck
that was a few years ago,
just fucking, they're the worst. Right, anyway, that was the last question. What I think end on it. Union Bears, fucking idiots. Anyway, didn't come after us. Like, we didn't care. We didn't care enough about you to come after us. So, fuck easy pricks. We've got a live show coming up as well. We should probably quickly announce that. So watch out for tickets going on sale. I'm calling it a stadium gig because it's at Easter Road.
I'm going to turn up with Bon Jovi here.
Coming out your boxer shorts. Aye.
Butterfly.
So we're still kind of getting the sort of at the planning stage with it, but it's the 15th of October, frankly, provisionally.
We are amateurs and we've got no idea what we're doing. But so we're still talking about what we need.
It's one of these things that seemed like a good idea, and then we thought, we'll see what happens if we ask if we can do it, and then everybody could have said aye. And now we're in a position like JX that said there's nothing I would do. That's kind of how we've ended up in this situation. We are going to do it. It's going to be a fucking good laugh, I think. So watch out for tickets going sale. Come on board. There will be a discount if you've signed up as one of our coffee members that you'll see on Twitter. You'll get a discount on the ticket as well, so it's worth having a look at that. And that page is there also if you just want to kind of go and click and donate something for the podcast if you like it as well, even if you can't make it along to a live show. So we will at some point be going out and asking folk to send us in some questions that we can take with us to the live show so that we're not relying on just everybody that's there. to ask us questions, and we'll come
Just
up with
make
some
up
other
some-
plans for it as well.
We'll just make up something ourselves and pretend it was somebody sent in. That's
Aye.
just off the top of my head. That's a suggestion.
Aye. So watch this space for Edinburgh. We're negotiating what we need for it with the powers that be Easter Road. But a stadium gig, we're taking that. We'll be back with Longbangers on Monday as well. We've got some stuff to talk about already there. I don't expect that to be an amazing episode because there's no football to talk about. But there you go. Okay, we can't be great all the time. Some of the time would be nice, I suppose. But there you go. Right, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Well, they trailed me down when I broke free. I drank all the whiskey in Tennessee. I don't drink water, no.